All right, what's up, guys? I hope you're doing well. James here from jamesdforsythe.com. So I wanted to do another book review. This one's on one I just finished called The Company of One: Why Staying Small is the Next Big Thing for Business, and it's Paul Jarvis is the author. And it was published on January 15th, 2019. And so this one was actually pretty interesting. I kind of wanted to start doing a little bit more business books and kind of learn a bit more about that kind of stuff, especially because this one seems a lot applicable. If I could speak, this one seems pretty applicable to basically what I'm doing here, like with the YouTube channel and with the websites and that kind of thing, right? It seems very applicable. So basically, Paul Jarvis is the co-founder of Fathom Analytics, which is an alternative to Google Analytics. Just for a little bit about him, and excuse me looking down, I have a few notes just to keep things going. But regardless, but yeah, it's pretty much about what the title says. Like, it's pretty self-explanatory, I think. Thought it was very interesting. He gives a lot of citations and a lot of interesting facts. The whole point is kind of to give a contrarian point of view to the typical kind of business growth kind of thing, where people are so obsessed with growing businesses and that sort of thing. And he kind of introduces the whole topic of, why do you need to, like, question that growth? Like, why do you need to grow so much, sort of thing? And is there a concept, or is there such a thing as kind of being enough in business, especially if it's small, like just you or maybe a family business or whatever happens to be? And he talks about basically having it be sustainable, because there's so many different things than just profit in terms of life in general. Like, you have family, there's other things you want to do. Like, even if you love your business, sometimes it's nice to take a break, or whatever it happens to be. And he really kind of accentuates the point of kind of freedom in your life, being able to having the freedom to do what you want when you want, but also like having that financial stability, and you're not just some like hermit walking down the street sort of thing. In that respect, it's really interesting. Um, excuse me, but like I said, he cites a lot of studies, not like academic citations, which, I mean, you kind of makes me a bit sad, but that's just kind of my preference and what I'm used to. But he does actually tell you, like, okay, this is where the study is. It's enough to where you can probably Google it and find it, in terms of like the actual study itself. But again, another thing that he talks about, specifically with like goals, right? So like putting goals for yourself in business. He actually introduces the idea of having caps in a way. So like having a maximum amount that you want to do, because it's one of those things too. Like, beyond a certain point, I mean, like, as you grow, I mean, so do your responsibilities. And so, like, if you build out all these systems, have all these employees, I mean, that's more responsibility on you. And it's kind of like, do you really want to take your smaller business to that degree, to where basically it completely consumes your life and you're basically a small corporation, so to speak? And he brings up that a lot of the bigger corporations are also trying to kind of act smaller, right? Like having those advantages of being a small company of one, as he says. And he goes into a lot of the advantages of being a company of one, being pretty much on your own. Even though, just because you work for yourself doesn't mean you work by yourself or have to work by yourself, but basically the whole concept of being a very small business, right? And he talks about, being too small to fail. I mean, like, if you don't have much overhead because you're so small, then basically, um, any increase in your revenue is pretty much just straight profit at that point, as long as you're keeping your head above water. And he also introduces the concept of being better, not bigger. And so kind of having that as a mode of growth, for lack of a better term, even though it's kind of contrarian to what he's trying to say. Um, but really hammering home the concept of better, not bigger. So like getting better in your business, making your business better. And that doesn't necessarily mean bigger, because growing in terms of size has other consequences as well, right? Not just like revenue, so to speak. So staying small helps you avoid the bigger and more complex problems that come with growth, And basically, a lot of these problems or consequences might not be worth it. And he's not saying that it's not worth it for certain people. And I think he says this explicitly somewhere in his book, to where it's basically like, it's up to you. Like, if you want that, go for it. But don't chase growth for the sake of growth, right? And he said, like, there is such a thing as growing too fast, to where one is not sustainable to a certain degree, or it's kind of like the ever filling, like a drug addict. You need more and more of it just to kind of sustain itself, and it just kind of ends up crashing, so to speak. And he says, like, the major killer, or I don't, he may have even said that the largest killer of businesses is growth. I mean, they're growing too quickly and they can't handle that. And basically, like, if you want to grow your business in general, you have to have a legitimate reason for it that kind of merits that growth. If you're going to add layers of complexity, there has to be a good reason for it, whatever it happens to be, right? Because obviously this is going to change depending on the person. But one of the other biggest takeaways that I have is, don't be afraid to question conventional business advice. And that's really, I think, is the overarching theme of the whole book. And it's not that long. It's only like 220 something pages, but still, is basically to question, right? Like, okay, this is what they conventionally say, like this whole, the idea of like grinding 18, 20-hour days, 7 days a week for a year. Like, do you really need that? And question that. How far do you actually want to go, right? And he breaks this down into phases when I get to the table of contents. And basically, it seems like it's pretty much in 3 different parts. So there's part 1, beginning, right? You got to start the damn thing. And then you have to kind of define what your business is going to be, and that sort of, and all of that. Not just like defining the business itself, but like how your personality meshes with that. Like, are you really going to be this kind of gung-ho CEO, need to like kill it every single day sort of thing, or are you kind of more introverted and you're perfectly fine just like having a small online thing to where you do what you love, that sort of thing, research the monetary system, whatever. Just as an example. And then part 3 is maintaining it, so kind of learning how to maintain that sort of lifestyle, because that's one of the things, and a major advantage for being a company of one, as he puts it, is kind of the maintenance of a lifestyle. So like, as a company of one, you basically, you can have the lifestyle you want, and then you structure your business around that. Whereas if you're so growth oriented and you want this like big corporation sort of thing, then basically your lifestyle revolves around that instead. And so it's kind of like, what's more important? Is it kind of the life you want, or is it the business itself? Right? And obviously it'll be an interesting point of discussion. And you know what? I want to bring that up. If you have any comments or concerns about that specifically, put them in the comments below, obviously. And what I mean by that is like, so what's more important, your business or your lifestyle, right? And so where should the emphasis be placed, right? And obviously, it's of my opinion that kind of until you get it going, until it's kind of sustainable, and you have your, I think it's minimum viable profit, to basically where you're financially free with your business and that sort of thing. And it's kind of like your business sustains you, right? And so once you're beyond that, like, how does that change? And I think it'll definitely change depending on the person. So I'm kind of curious of what your guys' input is on that, and I'd love to hear your stories or just general comments about it in general. And so feel free to put that in the comments. But yeah, that's pretty much the general consensus of the book, at least from what I got from it from the original reading. Like I said, another thing that he does, he gives a lot of like really good and kind of niche tips and stuff on like how to do certain things. Basically, like in the end, he talks about like taxes, basically setting enough for taxes, or setting enough of your profit or of your revenue aside for taxes, and little things like that. There's quite a bit of that throughout the book as well. A little bit about marketing, how you should market to people. what should really be like the emphasis on what's best for you and your audience, so to speak. And so like he goes into these kind of things, teaching everything you know and not trying to like hold on to secrets, so to say, and how that can actually like improve your business more than you would think. Basically properly utilizing trust and scale, whether that be through marketing or the systems you use for your business in general, that sort of thing. The hidden value of relationships, basically like how there's different types of relationships you can have through your business, and it's one of those things you don't, by staying small, you can be more personal with people and you can do more one-on-one things, not necessarily scaling like one-on-one consultations or whatever, but like you can help, like instead of just having kind of a customer come through, they buy one product and then you just kind of spit them out and forget them. You can actually, like create a lifelong kind of loyal customer in a way, because you can have that personal touch. You can send them a personalized video because you're small and you don't really need to. So instead of selling one person $100 product or whatever once, you can basically help them do something or improve their life or business in whatever way that's applicable for your business, whatever happens to be, and basically have them lifelong to where you eventually they pay you like thousands of dollars instead. And that's kind of the difference between like short-term kind of, I guess, value proposition for a product or service, whatever it happens to be, and then also kind of creating a lifelong loyal customer to where like you're actually providing value for their life, helping them with their business, that sort of thing, whatever the case may be for whatever you do, right? Obviously that depends on you, but just kind of, yeah, I don't know why I just lost my train of thought, but anyways, here's the cover one more time. Obviously I always forget to put it on the other side for the glare, but it is what it is. But regardless, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and the biggest takeaway again is like question everything, which is kind of I think that's why it really kind of resonated with me for a bit, or in general, because that's the whole kind of premise of everything that I have on here in terms of the channel and in terms of the website and that sort of thing, is to question things. And it's a continuous kind of questioning and trying to learn different points of view and really trying to understand the concepts, and not just kind of recite from a book. I never cared for that. Just because you know a lot doesn't mean you understand a lot, sort of thing. There is a difference between knowing and understanding. But anyway, Company of One by Paul Jarvis, it's definitely on the recommended list, regardless of your size or what you do. But yeah, I'm going to leave this one here. So if you want, check out the other book reviews I have as well. I've been steadily kind of adding to them as I finish books in general and kind of branching out to new topics, and going more of a businessy sort of thing, because the whole point of this is to kind of learn how to be like a better investor in a way, and I guess business person too. And so kind of going over these kind of things, one, helps synthesize the information for me, and two, puts it out there so that you guys can, hopefully it helps someone else as well, because I mean that's pretty much the whole point of a business, is to provide value for people, or at least how I think of it. But anyways, I'm going to shut up, so I'm going to leave this one here, and I hope you guys have a good night.